Here we go. There's more.
Yeah, and I also think there's a deeper question, right? I mean, which is that the sort of what the foreign policy direction of this all look like. I mean, when you look at...
So now Chris is going to get worried about foreign policy. Hey, I never thought about this before. It turns out Hillary Clinton, watch...
domestic policy, those stakes are so nailed in the ground in some ways, right? I mean, like, just the composition of what Congress will be, the Senate, the House, the platform, the promises, the constituency groups, all that stuff is sort of there holding it together, right? And she can't suddenly be like, I'm going to build a wall.
And it's what she believes. It's what I believe she believes. So it's not a stretch for her.
But foreign policy is...
So Chris Hayes just said, you know, domestically, her hands are kind of tied. There's lots of groups invested in the status quo, and it's hard to get things done internally. Domestically, there's lots of groups that know everything about what's happening. But now he's going to say, but foreign policy-wise, she can do whatever she wants. And here he's going to say that.
Russia invades Ukraine tomorrow, you know, on day one of the presidency.
Right.
That's when the president is at its most powerful, and who knows?
And who knows? Did you hear me? He's like, it's like the first time this idea ever entered his mind. You know, if Russia decides to invade Ukraine, she's the president, and she's listening to Negroponte and Kissinger and Bill Kristol. Yeah, you never thought about that before, Chris? What do you think Susan Sarandon was saying to you, you fucking $6 million knucklehead? What do you think she was saying to you when you were dismissing her, you smug moron? What do you think she was saying? What do you think we all have been saying? And now he's like, oh my God, Hillary Clinton is a frickin' warmonger. Look who she's cozying. First day on the job, Chris? Didn't see any of this coming? None of you saw this coming. None of you. And the people who did, you called pie in the sky. You called them, you called them sexist. You called them misogynists.
Instincts are more on the, go to war.
So now they shift from that to him saying, her instincts are more to go to war. Hillary Clinton. He didn't want to say warmonger. So he's like, her instincts are, you saw him looking, searching for the word, and he goes, to go to war. And Chris says interventionist, which is a very Orwellian way to say warmonger. Her instincts are interventionists. Ugh. What a watered-down word for warmonger. Her instincts are to bomb people she doesn't know.
Spectrum, yes.
Thing is, and I hope I'm not going to sound sexist when I say this.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, it's always a good way to start. Keep going. Please continue.
As the first woman.
Believe me, Joan Walsh will let you know. When you do it, it's sexist. If she disagrees with it, when she does it, it's just what liberals should be doing. That's her core. That's her center. That's where she makes all decisions from. Ugh. God damn. God damn it.
Woman president, will she be under pressure, either self-imposed or from outside, to be more...
Yes, self-imposed particularly, I think, is in some ways the most important in that way, right? Like the conception of, and clearly it was something they thought about a lot in 2008.
I mean, that's why she didn't, reportedly why she never apologized for her Iraq vote in 2008.
So let me just break down what they just said. He just said that, she doesn't want to seem weak. Women don't want to seem weak. So her internal criticism of herself, her pressure on herself to be strong and then she said that's why she never apologized for her Iraq war vote in 2008. This was talked about. It's that thing of, women are seen as weak. So when they get in power, they have to be war hawks to make them look strong.
Issue that I really don't want to drop is the Kissinger endorsement, which everyone keeps floating. And I mean, again, I'm not going to say it's almost midnight. I will not go through the Kissinger record, but again, you could read a bunch about.
Go to my website.
It's just odious.
And let me just say this. So he's acting again disgusted about this, like surprised about all this, and then Kissinger, and that she's touting stuff like that. You don't get to act surprised about it, Chris. That's the thing. Nobody is allowed to act surprised. Even after Bernie Sanders showed up, Hillary was bragging about being Kissinger's favorite daughter. And you didn't say anything about it. These are liberal frauds, okay? That's what this is right now. It's like the first day of the campaign to Chris Hayes. He has no idea. As if there wasn't half the Democratic Party screaming this at him for the whole campaign since last August. And now they're like, hey, you know, now that I think about it, this is really horrible. Yeah, now they're going to argue, yeah, she's horrible, but she's electable.
Horrible. And again, it's just, you know, the Kissinger thing says to me also, we keep talking about like, well, who's going to be held responsible? And people, what are people's reputations going to be after the Trump thing?
Right.
And it's like, well, wait a second. Yeah. Henry Kissinger, if he's going to be welcomed in open arms and like, hey, we got the Kissinger, what that says is no one will be accountable. Won't be accountable for Trump or the people that backed him or the people that went along with all his odious things. Because if in the same cycle, we're saying, yeah, Hillary Clinton.
So think about what Chris Hayes just said. I've been asking the same question about, wow, the Republicans who are now getting on board behind Donald Trump and supporting this should be ostracized from polite society forever. There should be a price to pay for this, for backing this fascist, there should be a price to pay. So what Chris Hayes just pointed out accurately is that there is going to be no price to pay. If she's in bed with people like Negroponte and Henry Kissinger, there will be how can you now turn and try to hold people accountable for supporting? You're in bed with people. Donald Trump never committed a war crime, far as we know. The worst he did is he offshored his tie manufacturing. So you can't now get mad at someone supporting him when you're in bed with Henry Kissinger. That's what Chris Hayes just said. So there will be no accountability for any of this. Why? Because they're horrible people who are running our country. The establishment is messed up. Chris Hayes is just coming to figure this out. Because when Bernie people were yelling that, it didn't get through the $6 million he has stuffed into his ear holes. Think about how much money that is a week.
Clinton's arguably a Democratic Richard Nixon.
I actually don't.
He just called her a Democratic Richard Nixon, and nobody said anything. Joan Walsh didn't go, oh, you Bernie bro, sexist, white privilege, how dare you? They just let him say it on television. He just called Hillary Clinton Richard Nixon, and nobody said anything. So apparently we weren't crazy. Apparently there's more to this.
I think Hillary Clinton needs some of these endorsements. I don't.
That's it. It's not that Hillary Clinton is embracing Henry Kissinger and John Negroponte. It's that those guys are embracing Hillary Clinton. And it's nice to see the liberal elite, Chris Hayes and Joan Walsh, get caught totally blindsided that their candidate of choice is horrible. And it's scary to think about what she might do. They're scared. Chris Hayes is scared. Russia invades the Ukraine. Holy crap. Way to go. Way to go. It's nice to know that when a real liberal showed up, you guys smeared him. Nice to know. Way to go, you fake liberals.